What's going on YouTube? Snowflakeyzemos here today with another Master Duel deck profile. Today it is my Counter Fairy deck, specifically the build I've been playing for the Dark and Light event. I was going through, didn't have too many great decks for it, but I did find that I had Counter Fairies that I could build pretty easily and would be pretty solid to get some easy wins thanks to the very powerful stunning capabilities of both the counter traps and Aurora Paragon to stop opponents from special summoning. While Barrier Statue of Heavens may be banned, this card is not, and it's a little harder to use. You got to build around it more, but that's fine. Counter Fairies is a pretty fun deck that I really like as someone who really loves trap cards. If you're somebody like that, like me, Counter Fairies is just kind of a natural given that all these monsters have synergies with you playing counter traps, and counter traps are extremely powerful. Just makes it pretty cool. I enjoy it quite a bit. With that said, let's get into the cards. So as we start with our monsters here, do note, as I said, this build is for my Light and Darkness event, so some of the card ratios are not as normal. You know, you'd definitely be playing more Extrav, more or Prosby, and maybe a different trap card lineup if we had Barrier Statue over Aurora Paragon. But given that the event is in a limited list, this is kind of how we've shaped it, and it's still pretty solid. Starting off, three of really the kingpin of the deck, Bountiful Artemis here. 1600 attack fairy monster. Each time a counter trap is activated, immediately after resolves, draw one card. That's nice. Use your counter traps to stop your opponent from things, and then you get more card advantage, more counter traps to stop your opponent on the next turn. One copy of Honest. Honest is pretty cool. When our light monster does battle, we can discard this card from our hand, and our monster gains attack equal to the attacks of the opponent's monster, making sure we'll win the battle and do damage equal to whatever our monster's attack is. It's a light level 4 fairy, which is pretty important in this deck. We're playing Ties of the Brethren, so we want all that to line up so we can pull monsters out. And Honest is nice because we can pull it off of the deck of Ties of the Brethren and then put it back into our hand. Pretty sweet. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Aurora Paragon. This is normally where we would see something like Barrier Statue of the Heaven that just stops all monsters from being special summoned except light, and is also a light level 4 fairy. But since that one is banned in the event, Aurora Paragon is a pretty good substitute. 1500 attack gives it more attack. Neither player could special summon monsters of any kind, which is pretty powerful, just with one big negative effect. When another monster is normal summoned to either player's side of the field, destroy this card. Well, we can play around that effect by putting in some protection in our deck, as well as negating normal summons and things like that. So you'll see a lot of cards in here that are in to preserve Aurora Paragon, because if you can't preserve Aurora Paragon, you're pretty much going to win the game. Next up, one copy of Minerva, the Scholar of the Sky, 1700 4-star fairy. Each time a counter trap is activated, immediately gain 500 attack. It gets an effect if you have Sanctuary in the Sky on the field, but I am not playing Sanctuary in the Sky, so that does not matter as much. Next, a copy of Power Angel Valkyria. Man, I used to play a lot of this builds where I cut this card, and I was wrong. This is a great card. 1800 attack, 4-star fairy. If you negate the activation of a spell or trap card or monster effect, add a light fairy monster from the deck to your hand. I think just because it can only be used once per turn, and we can't continually add stuff like Artemis could draw cards, I was just like, I just want to go all in on Artemis, and then, you know, use the Beat Stick Minerva, and of course the special summon lock. And sometimes that's true, but having Valkyria on board is nice. It's kind of just like a lighter version of Bountiful Artemis, making it another copy, and that's pretty sweet. And last, I'm playing 3 Guiding Ariadne. 1700 fairy monster. Has a pretty useful monster effect. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, reveal 3 counter traps from your deck. Your opponent chooses 1 to add to your hand and shuffle the rest back in the deck. So pretty cool. You'll get a counter trap when it gets destroyed. But the real reason we play it here is so we can put it in our pendulum zone as a pendulum effect. Apply these effects. You do not pay life points to activate counter trap cards, and you do not discard to activate counter trap cards. That's pretty sweet. Makes our Psalms free, makes Ultimate Providence free, allows us to play cards like Magic Jammer pretty easily, just stuff like that. It's a great card. We definitely want to see it. And that is it for the monsters. Moving on to our spells, I am playing 3 copies of Upstart Goblin, mostly as another way to get through our deck, get some more spell activations for getting those bonus missions done, and so we just draw a card and give our opponent 1000. Doesn't matter, we'll get that damage back, especially if we've stunned our opponent out of the game, and we definitely want to do some digging in the deck because we're looking for this next card, 3 copies of Ties of the Brethren. Pay 2000 life points, target a level 4 lower monster. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon, but we're going to special summon 2 monsters from our deck with the same type, attribute, and level, but different names. So everything in here is a light level 4 fairy. So anything can be used to bring out anything, except Aurora Paragon, of course, because we can't special summon it all. But that's okay. We want to bring Aurora Paragon off of our Ties of the Brethren. Getting something like Bountiful Artemis, Aurora Paragon, and then Honest to bounce into our hand is pretty much a game-winning play because we're going to be drawing cards when we play our counter traps. Our opponent can't special summon, and we got battle protection for at least one turn, which is basically all we need if a monster even sticks in the first place with all our trap cards. So great card. I love Ties of the Brethren. One of my favorite cards. It's a UR, but you know, I have quite a few decks where I've played this, so definitely was a good investment. Next, I'm playing Pot of Extravagance. It's at 1 in the event, and that's fine. It's going to be at 2 here soon, and I'll play 2 of it. We just banish 3 to 6 extra deck cards face down and draw 1 card for every 3. So we banish 6, draw 2. Our monsters are the real strength of this deck, and especially since we're locking off special summoning, you know, we basically want all our main deck monsters to stay on the field. So our extra deck is mostly just going to be card advantage. Now in a constructed version, of course, you'll play all the Parshath guys and get the rebirth Parshath because you can special summon light monsters under Barrier Statue. But under Aurora Paragon, we can't summon anything. So really, it's just fodder for that. And to complement, we're just going to play 1 Prosby. Prosby is really nice too because we can banish 6 to look at the top 6 cards of our deck and add 1 to our hand. This is pretty important because we really want to dig for Ties of the Brethren. And, you know, going 6 cards into our deck after our opening 5 makes this very likely and just a good card overall. And that's it for the spells. Next, going into our trap cards, I'm starting by playing 3 copies of Phantom Knight's Wing. This is a card just particularly for this build because this is one of our protections for Aurora Paragon. We can target a face-up monster, it gains 500 attack, and the first time it will be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. So if we have Aurora Paragon on the field, our opponent tries to normal summon to destroy Aurora Paragon, we can chain Phantom Knight's Wing, give Aurora Paragon an extra 500 attack, and protect it from getting destroyed, meaning our opponent's normal summon is done, and that is it for their summon. So if they can't attack over Aurora Paragon, they are done, and we'll clear it next turn and buy us another turn to protect our monster. 1 Solemn Judgment, again, the event only has it at 1. Play this at 3 in your normal build, but 1 Solemn Judgment, still pretty good. Monster would be summoned, spell or trap activated, pay half your life points, negate the summon if you do destroy that card. That's even free when guarding Ariadne's in the Pendulum Zone. Kind of to replace one of them, I'm playing 1 copy of Magic Jammer, just 1 because I don't want to see it without Guiding Ariadne, but with Guiding Ariadne, it just becomes a negate of a spell card, which is pretty sweet, especially since mass back row removal is our greatest weakness in this. You know, we don't want to see Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, so 1 Magic Jammer to supplement some of the other cards we have to protect is good. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Forced Back. Forced Back is really good in this build with Aurora Paragon because it negates a normal summon or flip summon of a monster and returns it to a hand. That burns their only summon if Aurora Paragon's on the field and stops Aurora Paragon from triggering. I mostly only play this in this build, but honestly, like even with Barrier Statue of the Light, sometimes your opponent's only going to be able to summon 1 monster, and just having the Forced Back to just put it back in your hand, poke directly. I'm considering trying it out in my regular constructive version, which is pretty cool. Next, I'm playing 1 copy of Pulling the Rug. This is just a kind of nice filler card to have in here at low rarity. We replace some of our missing Solemn Judgments. Pulling the Rug just says when a monster effect is activated when a monster normal summon, negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. Again, we're trying to limit our opponent to only normal summoning, and of course, a lot of normal summon monsters just have an effect, so we can use Pulling the Rug to just pop that monster. Pretty sweet. Next, plan 3 copies of Solemn Warning. Solemn Warning is an excellent card in this deck because it protects our Aurora Paragon, and it just negates a summon. Pretty great card. Solemn Warning, of course, pay 2,000 life points when a monster would be summoned or a spell trap is activated that includes special summoning a monster to negate the summon, and if we do, destroy it. You know, another card that's free with Guiding Ariadne. We love it. Kind of another replacement here to fill in some space, mainly for a missing Solemn Strike that I haven't crafted yet, is Solemn Scolding. Solemn Scolding, I think at 1, has been pretty decent in this deck. If this is your only set card in your spell and trap zone, it's just Solemn Judgment, but for the cost of 3,000 life points. Again, a cost that is free with Guiding Ariadne. So it's pretty easy to just add a Scolding to the back row, wait till all your other counter traps are spent, and then use Scolding, which is fine. All the other counter traps are easy to activate. You know, no problems there. Next, I am playing 2 copies of Solemn Strike. Just at 2 right now. I kind of cut it to 2 for Magic Jammer because I found I wasn't worried as much about monster effects when, you know, I have Aurora Paragon on the field that's stopping special summoning. The Magic Jammer stuff seemed more important. And, you know, sometimes I like, you know, just having the ability to pay 1,500 life points, negate the special summon or the effect of an effect monster, and destroy it. It's a good card. Again, can be free with Guiding Ariadne. If you don't have Guiding Ariadne, this Solemn package can get pretty expensive, but usually you only have to pay one turn, because if you have Bountiful Artemis, you'll probably get to Guiding Ariadne by your next turn. You can use Power Angel to search Guiding Ariadne, so the rest can be free. And of course, if you don't have Bountiful Artemis with your trap cards, you probably lose unless you have Aurora Paragon, but that's fine. Next, 3 copies of Ultimate Providence. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, discard the same type of card to negate the activation and to destroy it. With Guiding Ariadne, this just becomes a free negate of a spell, trap, or monster effect. Great. And last, I'm playing 3 Dimension Guardian. Really good card for this deck. Activate by targeting a face-up attack position monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If the targeted monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So this is a nice card. We can use this with Aurora Paragon to save it from getting destroyed by its own effect. Once Aurora Paragon is hit with Dimension Guardian, we don't have to worry about burning our other counter traps just to stop him from popping himself. This card will protect him. Also is very handy with any of the other counter fairies that have low attack. You know, Guiding Bountiful Artemis is nice if your opponent just wants to summon an attack over it. Makes it harder to remove, and just a nice card to have in this build. And that's it for the trap cards. As far as the extra deck goes, not too much to talk about. Like I said, it's mostly just Extravagance and Prosby fodder, as we want to keep our main deck monsters. But of course, in a constructed build, you usually want to go all in on the Parshaths. So the Avenging Knight Parshath and the Link one, which is a UR and not necessary per se, so don't rush out and craft it. But it's nice because they have a counter trap normally, Rebirth of Parshath, that when you can special summon Under Barrier Hat, Statue of the Light, this guy can special summon a Parshath from your deck or extra deck, so you can use that to pull out a big body just by negating a spell trap or monster activation, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about the extra deck. So here is a replay to see the deck in action. Going first against an opponent here. One thing to note about counter fairies, and a reason why it's not good for using on the ladder, is because basically the deck has no way to win if it doesn't go first. I mean, you can throw some things like Evenly in there to try to break a board and set up, but it really depends on winning the coin flip, which is the unfortunate cause. But for the event where you can just play, and if you don't, you know, if you don't make it, you don't make it. You know, less risk. It's perfectly fine. Looking at our starting hand here, we got Guiding Ariadne, which is nice. It's a free Solemn Strike. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing Artemis or Aurora Paragon, which is pretty much what I want to start with the whole time, or Ties of the Brethren. But we do have Upstart, so maybe I can draw into it here. We're going to start by playing our Upstart, see what we get. It's Bountiful Artemis. That's pretty nice. I would rather that be Aurora Paragon, so we can stop the special summon. But I got Force Back, I got Solemn Strike, I got Dimension Guardian, a lot of protection. I'm going to be drawing some cards, so that can probably come soon. So I got Artemis here with the negate of a normal summon and a negate of a special summon or a monster effect. We see the Orcus. I've been seeing this, you know, it's the Orcus Machina deck that's been played. I'm just going to force back their normal summon. That's going to get me a draw into another force back. Is nice. They're going to pass on that, which is nice. I top deck Pot of Extravagance. Great. Let's get these cards out of here. Dig for Ties of the Brethren. Now we didn't get it. What I do get is another force back and another Phantom Knight's Wing, which is nice. Give this guy some extra attack. We're back where we were. Poke for 6, and we're going to pass it back to our opponent. Our opponent is then going. They draw their card. They are normal summoning Machina Unsculpair. I am, of course, going to force it back, draw a card, and burn their normal summon. Now they're going to activate Unsculpair to special summon it. I'm going to hit the Solemn Strike, destroying that card, drawing another card. And you see this is the loop here, because now we're drawing into our next negates, which are going to stop our opponent's next turn. And that's what we're looking for. So another Solemn, we're pretty good. I want to set Solemn, and Ultimate Providence. So I'm going to burn Phantom Knight's Wing now, get a little extra attack on here, just try to close out the game sooner. But 3 Solemns, Ultimate Providence is pretty dang powerful, especially when I don't got to pay him. Here's the normal summon. We're Solemn Warning. We're drawing a card. They can't do anything. Now we drawn into Aurora Paragon, which is pretty sweet. This is going to lock special summoning. They're going to send their guy banished from the spell card. Doesn't matter. We're hitting for 15. We're hitting for 21. We got a Solemn Warning to stop the next normal summon. We got Dimension Guardian to protect Aurora Paragon. We're pretty much set up at this point. Unless they set a big monster, but that's going to be hard because Bountiful Artemis already got 2100 defense. Here's their normal summon. We're hitting it with the Solemn Warning, drawing our next card, and you know, they've had their frustration. That's pretty much how it goes. Once they've been negated enough, once they've been stopped, they're out of here. So that is it for my Counter Fairy deck. Again, this is the event build, but you know, those little tips I gave about building it constructed, you know, you can certainly build it there. Just note that it's not a great deck for laddering with because of the reason that you really need to go first to set up. But you know, if you have a lot of trap cards already because you play trap cards like me, it's not that expensive, especially if you already have Ties of the Brethren for another build. You can easily justify it. You know, because the counter fairies themselves are pretty low rarity. You know, you only need one Honest, you only need one Power Angel, and it's an SR anyway. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on about that. I'll be excited to do an update on this deck when they add in the new Black Horn of Heaven Pendulum monster, the new Harvest Angel that works with the Black Horns. I think that makes a cool little addition to the deck that does some neat things and gets some more monsters looping and specifically gets you more monsters kind of on the field faster to, you know, OTK your opponent faster. You know, that closes out the game sooner. So I appreciate you checking out the deck profile. Love to know if you've ever played Counter Fairies, what your favorite one of them are, and I will catch y'all in the next one.